The world doesn't speak, it vibrates. Imagine realizing there's a silent pulse sustaining everything you experience, a subtle movement you can't see but can feel. That pulse shapes events and anticipates encounters, rocking even the deepest silences. What if this pulse wasn't random, but the hidden language of the universe? You try to change your life, you try to act force and plan, but everything seems to slip away, as if something invisible were running the show from behind the scene. No matter how hard you try, something inside is still out of tune. It's because it is. Most people live in a constant struggle for control. They try to fix the scenery, change others, and resist the flow. But what they don't realize is that reality doesn't follow direct commands. It responds to frequencies, vibrations, and silent emotions that spread like waves. The universe doesn't hear words, it hears states. And here's the point no one talks about. It's not your conscious will that determines your life. It's your predominant vibration. The one that settles in when you're alone, when you're not trying to impress, and when no one is watching. That vibration doesn't come from what you say you want. It comes from what you deeply believe about yourself, about the world, and about what's possible. It expresses itself all the time, in the way you breathe, react, decide, in the frequency you wake up with, and in the feeling that follows you to sleep. You're not living what you desire. You're vibrating what you believe, and everything around you responds to that. But there is a law recorded by sages, whispered by mystics, and lived by masters. A law that reveals why everything moves and why everything vibrates. Hermes Trismegistus called it the law of vibration. It states precisely, nothing rests, everything moves, and everything vibrates. This is not a poetic metaphor. It's a structure of reality. In the next few minutes, you'll understand why certain patterns repeat themselves, even when you think you've moved past them. You'll discover how sound shapes form, how emotion alters the field, and how aligning your vibration can transform everything without you needing to force a single thing. But a warning, once you understand how everything vibrates, it'll be impossible to ignore what pulses inside you. Because everything pulses, even if it seems static, still solid. Even what you call matter is in truth energy in motion, condensed vibration dancing in frequencies so high or so subtle that your senses can't clearly perceive them. But it's there. Nothing is truly still. Stillness is only an appearance. Modern quantum science now confirms what Hermes Trismegistus taught millennia ago. Everything vibrates, from the sound that echoes to the silence that precedes sound. From the light you see to the void that seems to contain nothing. Every particle, every emotion, every thought vibrates. And that vibration is not neutral. It carries a signature, a frequency. You are made of that, not just flesh, bones, and thoughts. You are a vibrating energy field responding, emitting. Vibration is not around you, it is you. The shape of your body, the rhythm of your heart, the intensity of what you feel. All of it is organized vibration. And the more you become aware of this, the more you realize that life doesn't happen to you. It happens through you. This is the foundation of the law of vibration, a hermetic principle that states nothing is still. Everything is in motion. Everything vibrates in a constant rhythm. And this is not limited to material things. Thoughts vibrate, words vibrate, emotions have a field, a color, a sound, and all this vibration shapes the kind of reality you access. When you walk into a place and feel a heavy atmosphere, what you're perceiving isn't imagination, it's frequency. When you feel peace near certain people and discomfort near others, it's not about behavior, it's about vibrational attunement. Everything communicates, and the most accurate communication doesn't happen through words. It happens through frequency. The universe is an ocean of vibrations in constant flow. But this flow isn't chaotic. It has rhythm, order, and coherence. What you call reality is only the reflection of the frequency that is dominant in you at this moment. Reality is selective. It tunes into what you emit. The vibration of anger, for example, has a rhythm, an energetic pattern that contracts, creates resistance, and closes off possibilities. The vibration of gratitude, on the other hand, has a different rhythm. It expands, opens doors, and softens paths. These vibrations create effects. They organize or disorganize, attract or repel, heal or make ill. Everything responds. That's why true change doesn't begin with behavior. It begins in the field. If you want different results, you need to start vibrating differently. But it's not about forcing positivity. It's about transmuting presence. It's about coming into coherence with what you wish to experience. The right vibration doesn't come from effort. It comes from alignment. Hermes knew this. He didn't see the world as matter, but as crystallized sound. He taught that movement creates form, that the invisible structures are visible, and that changing reality doesn't require struggle. It requires resonance. When you start living from that place, you realize you're no longer trying to change the world. You're simply vibrating at another frequency. The world responds, but it doesn't respond with logic. It responds with form, with events, and with repetitions. They are returns, vibrational echoes of something that was emitted, even unconsciously. Someone who mastered this understanding was Thoth. In the Egyptian tradition, Thoth was not just the god of wisdom. He was the lord of primordial sound, the divine scribe who wrote down the words of the gods. Yes, he was that. But he was also the one who knew the creative power behind every vibration emitted. He knew that the universe didn't begin with an act, but with a sound, and that this sound wasn't heard. It was felt because sound, before being heard, is vibration, and vibration is the principle of everything. Thoth understood that the word is more than communication. It is the encoding of reality. Every verb, every tone, and every silence between phrases shapes fields. In essence, to speak is to vibrate, to think is to vibrate, to feel, above all, is to vibrate, and everything that vibrates organizes or disorganizes. The word is a tool, but it is also a seed. When spoken with intention, it becomes invisible geometry, creating structures in the energetic field before anything manifests in matter. Maybe that's why the ancients used mantras, prayers, and sacred intonations. They knew that form follows sound, that a name can invoke or repel, and that a statement repeated with truth begins to rewrite the subtle structure of reality. And it's not just spoken sound. The thoughts you nurture are silent vibrations, words unspoken yet emitted, frequency fields that leave you like a continuous signature. You are vibrating even when you say nothing. Even when you are silent, something in you is expressing. That's why Thoth is also the Lord of Silence. Because true silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of a pure frequency without noise. A silence that doesn't paralyze but organizes, that doesn't conceal but transmits. It is in this silence that the word prepares to be born. It's in it that intention takes shape. It's there that creation begins. When you begin to observe what vibrates through you, whether in the form of words, thoughts, or emotions, you begin to understand that there is no neutrality. Everything you emit connects with something. Everything comes back. Everything responds because the universe is a sensitive field of resonance. And the most surprising thing is that the way you say things matters just as much as what you say. A yes, spoken in fear vibrates differently from a. A request made in lack has the opposite frequency of a request made in gratitude. That's why sometimes, even asking for what you want, you attract the opposite, because it's not the request that creates, it's the vibration behind it. Thoth taught that the word should not be used carelessly, that thought should not be repeated unconsciously, that silence must be revered, because all of this is vibration in action. And vibration is not just energy, it is direction. It is intention shaped into sound. You can learn to listen to your own frequency, to notice what your words are really saying, to feel what your silence is transmitting, and to reorient your thoughts before they turn into forms. And when you do that, something changes. You are no longer just living. You are co-creating. But to co-create does not mean to manipulate what's outside. It means to alter what vibrates within. Because no matter how much you desire a new reality, it cannot manifest while your frequency sustains the old one. Vibration is the invisible mold into which the visible pours. Nothing happens outside without first being sustained by an internal state, and this state is not measured by words or fleeting intentions. It reveals itself in what you feel when you're alone, in what emanates from you when you're not trying to appear strong, positive, or enlightened. True vibration lives in the depths. It is the silent emotional tone that accompanies you in every decision, in every reaction, in every unnoticed moment. That's why observing your vibration is an act of self-knowledge, because it exposes what your mind still hides. It reveals what you believe, even when you say you no longer do. And it reveals, with precision, why certain situations keep coming back. Because the universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you vibrate with the most consistency. If there is lack, there is a frequency sustaining it. If there are patterns of rejection, there is an unintegrated vibration anchoring those experiences, not as punishment, but as a mirror. The universe does not punish you. It reflects you. What returns is what vibrates. And the key is not to blame yourself for this. The key is to realize that if your vibration creates reality, then changing your vibration changes everything. But here's where attention is needed. Raising your frequency doesn't mean pretending to be joyful. It means releasing what weighs you down. To transcend is not to escape what you feel. It's to feel deeply until the emotion dissolves into awareness. When you embrace your pain without identifying with it, something begins to change. The vibration refines, the field reorganizes, and what once seemed like an endless cycle starts to lose its strength because you stopped feeding the frequency that kept it alive. And then, for the first time, you notice something new. Reality doesn't just react. It opens up as if a new path appears where before there was only repetition, as if invisible doors begin to turn. Vibration is that key. It opens or closes paths, brings people closer or drives them away. It expands or limits possibilities, not by what you say you want, but by who you are while you wait, by what you feel when you're not trying to control, by the silent frequency your presence carries. And all of this happens in the subtle field. A field that perceives before you speak, that responds before you act, a field that mirrors exactly what you sustain in silence. That's why certain people seem to attract miracles. It's not luck, it's vibration. It's that they effortlessly sustain a frequency the universe recognizes, a coherence between intention and state, between what they ask for and what they're willing to become. And this is within your reach. You don't need to master occult techniques or complex formulas. You just need to become aware of what you're vibrating when you're not trying, because that's what is creating your life. That's what is emitting your future. You are not trapped in what you're living. You're just vibrating within it. And if you can vibrate differently, then you can access something completely new, because everything already exists. All possibilities, all versions of reality, all experiences you're capable of imagining. They don't need to be created from scratch. They're just waiting for the right tuning. The universe is like a field of simultaneous frequencies. Each reality is a station. You don't need to build a new station. You just need to change the channel. And changing the channel doesn't require physical effort. It requires vibrational coherence. The question isn't, how do I create the reality I desire? The real question is, what version of myself is able to tune in to what I desire? And that change begins in silence, in the space where will becomes vibration, where intention stops being merely mental and becomes energetic. Because the universe doesn't read scattered thoughts. It responds to the field, to what you sustain with your body, with your heart, with unspoken emotion. To tune in with the all is like aligning yourself with a song that's already playing. You don't need to invent the melody. You just need to vibrate in the same rhythm. And then that only happens when you stop resisting. When you let go of the frequency of doubt, of hurry, of rigidity, and begin to vibrate in trust, in flow, in presence. Have you ever noticed how certain emotional states seem to attract similar realities? When you're centered, something organizes around you. When you're in chaos, everything seems to get stuck. This is not a coincidence. It's resonance. The field is merely reflecting. But this resonance doesn't happen through mental repetition. It happens when the vibration becomes natural, when the state that once required effort becomes your new baseline. When feeling peace is no longer an exception, but the new normal. When trust is not a practice, but a constant vibration. That's why the deepest transformations don't happen through logic, but through vibration. You can understand everything intellectually and still change nothing. Because it's not what you know that tunes the field. It's what you vibrate, what you embody, what you sustain without needing to pretend. And the more you align internally, the more external responses reorganize. Not because you force them, but because the universe has no choice. It dances to your frequency. It revolves around your vibration. To tune in with the all is to stop trying to control reality and start vibrating in coherence with it. It's to abandon the invisible war between what you feel and what you say you feel. It's to bring body, mind, and spirit into the same melody. Because the truth is simple. Reality doesn't resist a field that vibrates in truth. When you align, the world follows. Vibration is not an esoteric concept lost in ancient books. It is the invisible bridge between what you live and what you are. It is the silent password that opens the right doors or keeps you stuck in the same corridors as always. After today, there's no way to say you didn't know. Now you understand that your thoughts are not neutral, that your emotions have frequency, and that your presence communicates before your voice. Now you know the universe does not wait for your words. It responds to your field, to your truest state, to the frequency you sustain even when the world is silent. And that changes everything, because knowing this transforms the way you wake up, how you react, and how you breathe in the face of what used to throw you off center. Knowing this changes the way you care for yourself, how you quiet your inner world, how you choose what to consume, what to think, and what to carry. You realize that you don't need to control the world. You just need to come into coherence with what you wish to see, reflected, because the world is not what happens to you. It's what responds to you. Hermes Trismegistus wrote, "He who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power." This is not the power that dominates. It's the power that attunes, that doesn't force, that doesn't beg, and that doesn't fight reality, but transforms it because it vibrates at a different rhythm. Now that you know this, look around with new eyes. What is present in your life today is vibrating with you, and what hasn't arrived yet is waiting for your frequency to find the path. You don't need to chase the reality you desire. You only need to become the field where it manifests. If this message touched something in you, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. This helps spread this awareness to more seekers. In the comments, write, "I am the frequency of the reality I want to live." Share this video with someone whose vibration you respect, or someone who needs to reconnect with their own. This is the third episode in the series on the 7 Hermetic laws. If you haven't watched the first 2 yet about the law of mentalism and the law of correspondence, click on the screen and dive deep. New episodes are already being prepared. Remember, the universe doesn't respond to effort. It bows to vibrational coherence.